So in previous class, we started talking about the effectiveness NTU method for analysis of heat exchanger problems. The previous method which was discussed and examples were solved on that was the log mean temperature difference method. But the limitation with that temperature, with that method, LMTD method, is that all four temperatures in the process are known or can be found. Only then you can find out the LMTD, and then the method is straightforward and you can get the area, etc. But if all four are not available or cannot be found beforehand, then this process may become iterative. In place of that, if you use the effectiveness NTU method, it can make the solution simpler. So this method was first proposed and used by Case and London in 1955. So NTU is a non-dimensional number, and also another non-dimensional parameter is heat transfer effectiveness, epsilon. Right? So heat transfer effectiveness, epsilon, is defined as Q dot upon Q maximum or Q actual upon Q maximum, right? That is actual heat transfer rate divided by maximum possible heat transfer rate. Now, what would be the maximum possible heat transfer rate? It was shown in the previous lecture that whether the hot fluid is having the maximum heat transfer or rather higher heat capacity rate, or whether the cold fluid has the higher heat capacity rate, in both the cases, you will see that Q dot maximum is always equal to whichever lower C, that is heat capacity rate, that you have, multiplied by THI minus TCI, right? That would always be the maximum possible heat transfer rate. So this part I am mainly discussing today based on the content given in the book Yunus Sengel. So Q maximum will always be equal to C minimum into THI minus TCI. Okay. So there is an upper limit to the heat transfer in a heat exchanger. So one such example is given here in Yunus Sengel. You can go through that. And I think I'll also give a similar problem in assignment. Okay. Now for different types of, so basically, what is the method to solve the problem with the help of effectiveness NTU method? So effectiveness is a function of heat, the ratio of the heat capacity rate, right? The ratio of heat capacity rate and NTU. Okay, so you can express the equation for effectiveness in terms of C or CR. CR is C minimum upon C maximum, and NTU. And such relationships can be found for all different types of heat exchangers. As you can see here, the effectiveness for a parallel flow with a small derivation, you could find that effectiveness in a parallel flow heat exchanger would be 1 minus exponential of U into AS upon Cc into 1 plus Cc upon Ch. Okay, upon 1 plus Cc upon Ch into C minimum upon Cc, and this can be further shown as 1 minus exponential of minus UAS upon C minimum into 1 plus C minimum upon C maximum. That's nothing but CR, the heat capacity rate ratio, and 1 plus again CR. Okay, so this is the relation between the effectiveness and NTU and CR. Okay, so this part is actually NTU, UAS upon C minimum, that is NTU. Okay. So this way, for all different heat exchangers, you can have the heat capacity, you can have the relationship between NTU and CR, right? Okay. So based on the convenience, the either method can be used. As I told, if you are talking about design, then if all four parameters are available, so it is based on what parameters are available, right? So if all four temperatures are available, in that case, LMTD method is easier and it can be used, right? While in that case, NTU method um, uh, also sometimes can be used, right? So NTU method, in a way, you can say is more universal effectiveness NTU method, while LMTD method is generally used when all four temperatures are available or can be found, right? And if you try to use it when one of the temperatures is not available, then or two temperatures are not available, in that case it may become an iterative method. Okay, so it depends upon the parameters available and the choice of designer. Okay. So for the parallel flow heat exchanger, this is the correlation that, or this is the formula that may be used. So UAS upon C minimum is nothing but NTU. So you can see that effectiveness is a function of NTU, and C minimum upon C maximum is nothing but the ratio, that is CR. Okay, so it's a function of NTU and CR. So if you are able to find out NTU and CR, you can find out the effectiveness. And with the help of effectiveness, if you are able to find out the maximum heat transfer rate, then you can find out the actual heat transfer rate also, right? Which will be demonstrated with the help of an example uh, later on. Okay, so NTU, this NTU is number of transfer units, and it is equal to UAS upon C minimum. UAS upon C minimum. Okay, so whatever is the lower heat capacity rate, that would be used. So U, as you know, is the overall heat transfer coefficient. AS is the surface area for the heat transfer available in a heat exchanger. Okay, and NTU is, so NTU is proportional to surface area as well as it is proportional to U. So if your U and AS are high, then the NTU is high. Okay. So you can try to increase, like when generally when NTU is high, UAS is high. It means you may have provided higher surface area, or your heat transfer coefficient may be high. So similar to what was done for the parallel flow heat exchanger in a tube-in-tube type of heat exchanger, right? This is the relation between NTU and the heat capacity rate. So here it is written as just C. I normally use C suffix R, and normally capital C suffix R. That is what I use. So that, because that is a ratio, and that is multiplication with of mass flow rate and the CP. Okay, so I normally use capital C and suffix R. So that is CR, that is heat capacity rate ratio, and NTU is UAS upon C minimum. Okay, so these are the relations which may be used Like if you know, or if you can get NTU and CR, you can get effectiveness, and then with the help of effectiveness, you will be able to find out the actual heat transfer rate after finding the maximum possible heat transfer rate. So with analysis, one can find the formula for the other type of heat exchangers also, like say for counter flow, this is the formula. Then if you are dealing with shell and tube type of heat exchanger, then it depends, like if you have only one shell side pass and multiple tube side passes, 2, 4, 6 and so on, then this is the formula, this which can be used, right? And if it is a cross flow heat exchanger, then these are the formula given here. Now here there are two, or rather three formulas, both fluids unmixed. That is one case. Second case is C maximum is mixed and C minimum is unmixed. And the third one is C minimum is mixed and C maximum is unmixed. And then all heat exchangers with C are equal to 0. The formula would always come out to be 1 minus exponential of minus NTU. Right? You can check this even with putting C in any of the formula. You should get effectiveness equal to 1 minus exponential of minus NTU. Right? So these two things: one, what is this mixed unmixed, and second, like when will this C be equal to 0? Right? So that one is a special case, so that will be discussed. And regarding the cross flow heat exchanger, what is mixed flow and what is unmixed flow, that will also be explained. So these formula may be shown in terms of plots also. So here you can see, like this one is for the parallel flow, the left hand one A is for the parallel flow, and here number of transfer due to NTU is there on the horizontal axis, and the effectiveness is on the vertical axis, right? And this C minimum upon C maximum, or CR. Okay, so for different values of CR, you have different plots, right? So when this CR is equal to 0, this is the plot, right, which generally gives you the highest value of effectiveness for a given value of NTU. Okay, so this is for the parallel flow, this is for the counter flow, right? This can be considered tube in tube type of heat exchanger, or even shell and tube type of heat exchanger with only one tube side pass and one shell side pass. Okay, so if it is counter flow, then you can use these graphs. Now, as you can see, like this CR is equal to 0, this is 0.25, nothing is available in between. Okay, so which plot will you use if, let's say, your CR is equal to 0.15? Okay, so it is highly very high level of approximation that you might have to use when such graphs are given, or you should have graphs where many number of plots are available. So it's always good to use formula whenever it is it is available, right? Though the calculation may not be that easy. Of course, when you do manual calculation, it may not be that easy, but with the help of a program, it is generally not at all difficult to evaluate the values when a formula is available, right? So it's always preferable to use a formula. As I will also go back to one of the previous problems where we had found F. So F, I had got it with the graph, and that was actually not very accurate. What I had written was 0.92, but with the help of formula, if you have tried, you must have realized that it was rather close to 0.91. It was 0.912 rather than 0.92. Right, so the use of plots is always not accurate. It can give you quick help you to get some quick estimation, but it's not very accurate. Okay, so because of the approximation and low level of resolution involved. If you have one shell side pass and multiple tube passes like 246, in that case, this is another graph that you may have to use, right? So different graphs are available or plotted for different types of heat exchangers and different types of configuration. And then this is the E and F are for the cross flow heat exchanger. So the left one, this E is cross flow with both fluids unmixed. Both fluids unmixed. Now, what is this both fluids unmixed? Like that has been nicely shown with the help of this inset diagram here. You can see the hot fluid is, let's say, moving in this direction, X direction, you can say, and the cold fluid in the Y direction or negative Y direction. And they have shown multiple lines for both the fluids, right? A full line for the hot fluid and the dashed lines for the cold fluid, but full lines have been plotted. Lines have been plotted. That shows that hot fluid is flowing through multiple channels, and one fluid in one channel cannot mix with the fluid in another channel. Okay, so here fluid moves in channels, and fluid in one channel cannot mix with the fluid in another channel. That is what is unmixed flow. So whenever you are solving a problem with cross flow heat exchanger, you have to first ensure that you have to check whether it is, which case is it. You have to check which case is it. Vaibhav Patel is there, or you are just keeping it on? So you have to check whether it is a case where the hot fluid is mixed or unmixed and cold fluid is mixed or unmixed, right? And whether it is cold fluid or hot fluid, what is more important is to which one is having minimum heat capacity rate and which one is having the maximum heat capacity rate, and accordingly you have to go through the required type of chart. So here you can see this F cross flow with one fluid mixed and other unmixed. So one of the fluid is mixed, that is it is not flowing through channels, but it's able to all different parts through which this fluid in this along the horizontal line is able to mix, right? There are no defined channels through which it must move. It's not that it has to divide itself into multiple channels and it has to move in that channel only, this horizontal one. But this vertical one, you can see that it has to, the channels are defined. So once it gets distributed among multiple channels, it has to flow through that channel. So that fluid is unmixed, right? That fluid is unmixed, and this one is mixed fluid. In that case, you have to refer to this chart, and then again, whether you are mixed or C minimum is mixed, right? So based on that, you will select the chart, whether this full line or this dashed line, right? So if this, you can see C mixed upon C unmixed. If it is 0, then it is this line, or it is also for the ratio where infinity, right? And if it is 0.25, it means that this C mixed is the minimum heat capacity fluid, right? 0.25 less than 1, right? So this one is C mixed is C minimum, right? The fluid having lower heat capacity. So this full lines are for that, and the maximum what you can have is 1. when this C minimum upon C maximum and this C minimum is mixed, right? Okay. And if it is the opposite case, right, that is your C mixed is C maximum. In that case, you have to refer to these dashed lines. Okay. So again, you can see only few lines are available, and again, at some places the slopes are very high, and a small error in say this variable can lead to very high value of error in reading the effectiveness, right? So it's always preferable to use whenever convenient, the formula should be used rather than graphs, right? So this is like when you are able to find out NTU and CR, and then you find out the heat transfer rate, and then you can find out the outlet temperatures. So this for such examples, this method would be useful. So we'll solve that example where these graphs or the corresponding formula can be used. So you'll better understand in which cases this method will fit, right? And this method actually can fit in many problems of which may be solved with LMTD method also. In that case, it may be the opposite thing, that is the effectiveness may be available and you may have to find out NTU. So in that case, you can find out NTU and find the area. So that may be kind of a design problem also. Okay, but in general, you can say that NTU method is for selection problems and LMTD method is for design problems. Okay, so let's have an example. I hope you are ready with your property tables and your calculators. So you can write down this example. I can make it a big, I can zoom it a bit. So a cross flow heat exchanger is used to heat water at 50 degrees Celsius using hot air at 125 degrees Celsius. Flow rate of water as well as air is 0.7 kg per second. Find outlet temperatures. If overall, you can see overall heat transfer coefficient is given, so you don't need to find it. 175 watt per meter square Kelvin, and area is also given, right? Area is also given, you can see, but two temperatures are not known. The outlet temperature of water is not known, and the outlet temperature of air is also not known. So what you know is only the inlet temperatures and the flow rates, and you can say that all details of the heat exchanger of a particular heat exchanger. Then what you may do is you can find out the outlet temperatures, right? Like if somebody gives you that this is the heat exchanger that you have to use, right? So just for some action, you may want to know what would be the outlet temperatures, or you want to check whether this heat exchanger that is given to you is good enough for you or not, or you might have choice between multiple heat exchangers. So you have a program and you put data of one heat exchanger, see whether it gives you the satisfactory performance or not. You put the data for the second heat exchanger, check it again, and so on, right? So let's say you have 5 choices available, you want to compare them, and with this method you can compare them. Okay, so that's how one can look at the effectiveness NTU method. So here water inlet temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, air inlet temperature. So this may be kind of, let's say, your hot gases or the exhaust gases in some case. Let's say you are running a heat engine and the hot air is available or exhaust gases are available at 125. For example, let's say it's an IC engine and the exhaust gases are available at 125, and you want to let's say it's a stationary engine and the exhaust gases are available at 125 degrees Celsius temperature. So you want to let's say put a heat exchanger and use it for heating water, right? So water is available at 50 degrees Celsius. It may be a bit lower temperature also. We can modify the data a bit. Let's say we put it 30 in place of, okay. So tap water is, let's say, available at 30, or it might be the case like when you are recirculating the water. So the outlet water may not be at the ambient temperature, right? It may be at somewhat higher temperature. So let us stick with 50 as of now. Okay. So this is being heated with this stream of hot air, 125. It may be exhaust gas also. And you have a heat exchanger. You have a ready-made heat exchanger available with you. And the manufacturer has given this data that the area available in my heat exchanger is 5.5 meters square and heat transfer coefficient is 175 watt per meter square Kelvin. So with this data, you want to know how much heat can I recover from this stream of air, which is at available at 0.7 meter kg per second. And let's say you are also pumping the water at the same mass flow rate of 0.7 kg per second. So how much heat shall I be able to recover? That is what you may be interested in. So the temperatures are prescribed here. Water inlet is 50, air inlet is 125. Mass flow rate of water in this cross flow heat exchanger is 0.7 kg per second. For air also it is the same. So now you have to find the properties. And why do you need properties? One of them is the C. You want to find out CR, the capacity ratio, heat capacity ratio. So you have to find out the heat capacity ratio for water and for air. For that, you need the CP of water and air. Okay. Now this CP of water, at what temperature will you take the properties of water? You don't know what is the outlet temperature, and you cannot even beforehand, before solving the example, you cannot get the outlet temperatures, right? Because two of them are unknown. Both outlet are not known. If one of them is known, then you can find out the fourth one by the energy conservation. That is the heat lost by exhaust gas is equal to heat gained by water. And in that case, you can find out the fourth one, but that is not possible here. So now I have put it 57, right? So it's by some rational gas, rational guess, right? Or I might have actually calculated the outlet temperature and then changed the value, right? So that might have been done, but for you, it's not compulsory to put 57. You may do it at 50 also, because you don't know up to what temperature will it rise, or you know that it's going to increase to some extent. So maybe you take 60 or something, right? But as of now, I can't say that you should take this temperature or that temperature. You can even go with 50 degree. It may not actually make much difference in the final answer. Even if it makes a difference for you when you solve it in exam, you need not get the perfect answer, right? Only thing expected is that you know the procedure. Okay, so you may even put 50. That is not an issue. Okay, and then CP of air is 100 degrees. I found it at 100 degrees Celsius. What I'll do better is put it at 50, so that if you solve it, you are able to match it. And So this is at 100 and this is at 125, right? So the unit of this is actually, yeah, this is kilojoule per kg Kelvin, right? Joule per kg Kelvin. So for water it is 4.175 and for air it is 1.018, right? So many times for air, like in case the things are not available, people take it 1, right, for quick calculations. Yeah, so let's find out the heat capacity rate. So for the water, it's 2.923 kilowatt per Kelvin, right? And for air, it is 0.709 kilowatt per Kelvin, right? So these are the heat capacity rates. So you can see C minimum is that of air. Air has lower heat capacity ratio. That's the case most of the times when you are dealing with air or gas, right? They are generally the fluids which are having lower heat capacity rate. Now, here, what is like this, one of the fluids as it is shown here is unmixed and the other is mixed, right? That is the scheme that has been shown here in this diagram. Okay. Now, is there anything which can suggest which fluid is mixed and which fluid is unmixed, etc.? Actually, in the data, I don't think there is anything available which can suggest this, right? But maybe this scheme is given to you in the data that this cold fluid, the water, is unmixed, right? Water is unmixed and air is mixed, right? That is what should be given to you, right? So accordingly, this statement of the problem may be modified, right? So in that case, this is the scheme that you are showing here, right? Now, what you have to find, what next? You have to find out NTU. So NTU is UA upon C minimum, right? So please find out NTU and tell me what is the value that you get. Find out NTU and tell me what is the value you get. So you have different things. Area is there, U is there, and C values are there, right? You have to NTU is equal to UA upon C minimum. So get the value of NTU. Yeah. So which unit to use? That is, so if you write it in kilo unit in basically NTU is UA upon C minimum, right? So C minimum you should put it in watt per Kelvin, right? Don't put it in kilowatt per Kelvin. Okay, don't put it in kilowatt per Kelvin. So though I have written here as kilowatt, right? I think I should have kept watt only, because it may lead to a wrong value for NTU, right? Because NTU is unitless. So if you put your U in watts, right, you should put this also in watts. Okay. So NTU is 1.3 something, and get the CR also, that is heat capacity rate ratio. So NTU is 1.357, right? So I think most of you are correct. Only thing is that kilo and not using kilo, that made some confusion, created some confusion. So NTU is 1.357, and how much is CR? And once you get CR, you know that effectiveness is a function of NTU and CR, and that's given in this table. And you have to use the right formula, okay, because there are multiple choices available. So you have to pick up the right formula for your case. Okay. So to one, get CR, and two, choose the right formula. So which formula will you use? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's very easy to tell that it will be 3, because it's a cross flow heat exchanger and it is a single pass. But then out of these 3, out in this third one, whether you will use the first one, will use the second one, or you'll use the third one, right? So you have to give me two answers. One, how much is the value of CR? And two, which formula will you use in the third? First one, second one, or third one, right? So I expect these two answers from you. Getting CR is very easy, right? It is C minimum upon C maximum. Okay. And which formula should I use out of these? So first one is both fluids unmixed. So it's clear that in our case, it's not both fluids unmixed, right? It's told that water is unmixed. C mixed, C maximum is mixed, C minimum is unmixed. Now what is C maximum in our case? In our case, C maximum is water, which is not mixed. It is unmixed, right? So we will have to use the third formula. So use this third formula and get effectiveness, answer for the effectiveness. So effectiveness will be found with this formula. Effectiveness is equal to 1 minus exponential of 1 minus 1 upon CR into 1 minus exponential of minus CR into NTU. So this formula is to be used to get the effectiveness. So I should display the formula for you to be able to use that. So it's 1 minus C minimum is mixed. So the third one will be used. So another option is also using the graph. Right, so somebody has come up with this answer, Kapadia Sagar 0.68639. So let's see whether that is correct or not. Let's first check whether that 0.68, okay, or something near to 0.7 is correct or not. So NTU is 1.357. So in this graph, actually, it's only 1 and then directly 1.5 available. So let's move on 1.5, and this ratio CR is close to 0.25, right? So this is the line for 0.25. Okay, so that two intersect somewhere near 0.7, right? So that 0.68 seems to be closer to the answer, right? So let's see what exact number you get with formula. So you could see that what is the limitation of using the plots. So if formula is not available, then plots should be used. Of course, I won't make you to, like, I won't advise that you need to mug up the formula. If it is to be used, then it will be available. And the way the table is given, it can be given in appendix of the paper. So this formula is used and you get it 0.685. Okay, roughly 0.685. And to go up to 4 digits, it is 0.6853. And how much is the maximum heat transfer rate? So find out that maximum possible heat transfer rate, right? So that is C minimum, that is C of air multiplied by hot fluid inlet minus cold fluid inlet. So air inlet minus water inlet. So as you can see, that maximum is 53.198 kilowatt. That's the maximum possible, right? And what will be the actual one? The actual one will be multiplication of maximum heat transfer rate with the effectiveness. So find out the actual heat transfer rate and the outlet temperatures of air and water, right? Because outlet temperatures are not available. You will be able to get them only after getting the actual heat transfer rate and then using the energy balance. That is mCp delta T. Q is equal to mCp delta T for both the fluids may be found after getting the actual heat transfer rate. Okay. If your heat exchanger is the most ideal, you can get 53.198 kilowatt. But this given actual heat exchanger can give you only 0.6853 part of this. So that will be the actual heat transfer rate. So actual heat transfer rate is 36.457 kilowatt. In this heat exchanger, given heat exchanger, you can have only this much heat transfer rate for the given process inlet temperatures and mass flow rates. One can play with the mass flow rates perhaps, right? Let's say water mass flow rate is not fixed. For air or exhaust gases, you may not be able to do much in actual circumstances. Like there is an IC engine and it's, let's say, running at a particular rate, and it's producing the exhaust gases at a particular flow rate and temperature. So you may not have much flexibility on that side, but on the water side you may have flexibility. So you can change the water flow rate, and that will change the this CR. Okay, but then you have to be careful that it doesn't change U also. Otherwise, again, you have to take a new value of U. Okay, but generally you will be governed by the exhaust air side, right? Because it is lower one. So water you may be able to play a bit here and there, and that may change the CR value, and that may change the effectiveness also. Okay. So now you can, once you have this Q actual is equal to MCP delta T of water and MCP delta T of air. So you can now get the outlet temperature of air and outlet temperature of water. So you get these temperatures. Water would come out at 62.5, so 12.5 degree rise of water, and air would come out at 73.6, right? So from 125 decrease to 73.6. So there may be two things that you might check. One, whether this 36.457 is good enough for me or not. If it is not, then I may have to check for another heat exchanger. That is one thing. Second could be, let's say, the air temperature reduces to 73.6, right? So actually, it may be the case that you don't want to decrease it to such a low value, like some consideration like sulfur dew point may be there. So in that case, you may find that no, it should not decrease so much. So actually, you might be interested in decreasing the effectiveness, right? So you may do it with changing some parameters, the process parameters, or maybe changing the heat exchanger. Okay. So your answers are that the actual heat transfer rate is 36.457 kilowatt, and the water outlet temperature is 62.5, and 73.6 is air outlet temperature, right? So like if you are actually making an actual program, let's say you are doing this kind of project in your final year, so there you have you can make a program, and you can do the iterative procedure. So what you find is that the water properties were calculated at 50, but here you get it 62.5. So maybe 56 would be the right thing to take properties. So you may put 56 there, and again air properties also you may find not at 125 but at somewhat lower temperature, right? So one, if you make a program, then you have that kind of uh, flexibility of changing the play with the parameters. Okay. So one problem on effectiveness NTU method was demonstrated here, right? So this is a cross flow heat exchanger. Many times these type of heat exchangers are used, right? If you think of a condenser of a air conditioner, then that is also a cross flow heat exchanger. Okay, and a radiator is also many times a cross flow heat exchanger. So that's a many times very convenient configuration to use, and the the effectiveness that you get for the cross flow heat exchanger many times may not be much lower than the counter flow heat exchanger, right? So so that way also the choice may be governed mainly by the convenience between cross flow heat exchanger and counter flow heat exchanger. Okay. Many times a LMTD problem, like a problem which can be solved by LMTD method, can also be solved by NTU method. Okay, so I'll just show you that the problem that we had solved for the counter flow heat exchanger and then shell and tube type of heat exchanger, right? So I hope you can recall. I hope you are immediately revising what is being taught in class, but I don't see many views in the YouTube videos that I upload. So I doubt, I feel only a few of you are like immediately revising. It's not a good idea to revise after a long time, because you will forget a large part of what was explained in class. It's always best to revise it earliest possible, right? That earliest, if not the same day, should be the weekend. So by weekend at least you should revise it, and redo the things, at least what I am showing, and then later on whatever assignments are given, you should attempt those assignments. That's the good thing that is expected. Okay. Now, in that case, also you might be able to solve the problem with the effectiveness NTU method. Right now, here also, when I use the formula, I found that the F value that I had given, I had used was 0.92, but a better one, a better value, or more closer or value or accurate value is 0.912 with the help of the formula, right? This formula is available in the literature given for the shell and tube type of heat exchanger, right? So from that you get this formula, and you get the F value. So your area, the answer was here, point area was 0.875, right? That's the area required. So this could have been done with effectiveness NTU method also. So please do it, try it that way. And you find that the heat capacity rate on the tube side, the hot water, is 8.189. The heat capacity rate for the shell side fluid, that is cold water, is 12 point something. So obviously your this cold water is higher, and you find out the ratio, which comes out to be 0.661, that's CR. And Q of heat exchanger, this is the actual one available, right? Actual one is already given to you. You can get it with MCP delta T. So in this case, actually you are finding out the area. Okay, something different from the just previously done example. So here, Q maximum also can be found, that is C minimum into the hot water inlet minus cold water inlet, right? So you can get the effectiveness, and then there are also relations available in this form, that is NTU is given as a function of CR and effectiveness, right? So the right formula or chart may be used, and here I am getting NTU equal to 0.944, and then I get the area equal to NTU into C minimum upon U, right? So that way you get the area, which is same as the area that you get by LMTD method also, right? So there you use the correction factor, LMTD and correction factor. Here you use the NTU method. So either of the method may be used. So it depends many times upon the personal choice also, which method to be used. Okay. So let us conclude this class here.